Hey guys, so I'm here with another video. I'm gonna be reacting to my boyfriend cheated on me with my nanny. One story to equals two versions.
I'm Patricia, and
Wait, let me turn off the caption. Let's watch. This video is going to be very interesting. You guys can tell from the title. Sorry if I'm being loud. My brother won't shut the hell up. He's in the other
I've got a terrible story for you. Well, the story itself is quite typical, but the circumstances makes it really tragic.
Nah, girl, it's not typical for your nanny to freaking sleep with your boyfriend.
Gee,
That's not
you've
typical.
really put it to use.
Hold on. I just came in my closet, but okay, hold on.
If you were a filmmaker, I suppose.
It's not ordinary.
My family is rich. Of course, we're not billionaires, and you won't find us in the Forbes list. Still, we've got a mansion in the nicest part of Miami. Several yachts, cool cars.
Why would you live in Miami? I feel like I would never live in Miami. It's just not a place that you should live. Miami's just hot, like Florida in general. It's just like super hot, and where I live, we don't have a beach or an ocean. Like my whole state, there's not a beach or an ocean in my whole state. So I've never been to an ocean or a beach. Because I've never been out of the state, but because I don't really like oceans. But anyway, Florida's way too hot, like all year round. In my state, we experience all the seasons of weathers: winter, spring, summer, and fall.
It's in the garage. All this belongs to my parents, not to me.
Obviously.
But I've already met several thugs who've tried to get to my mom and dad's wallets through me. That's how I got used to being alone since I was a child. And I can recognize those who are only interested in my money as soon as they start talking. My parents were always busy with anything except my upbringing, so they took care of it by hiring a nanny, a woman who lived in our house, and, well, nursed me.
I already know
Her
this isn't going to go
responsibilities
well.
included catering to any of my whims and controlling my studies. Some think that a child from a rich family isn't obligated to study. Well, that's not my case. I've been constantly studying since my childhood. When I was 3, I already...
Whoa, this girl was studying when she looks about like 6 or 7 or even 8 here. I didn't even study. I don't even study now, and I'm 13. So, I don't know. I don't know who studies, but I don't.
Spoke 2 languages with ease. At the age of 5, I was able to read, write, and paint with watercolors. As a 7-year-old girl, I was already an expert in etiquette, knew how to dance, rode a little fat pony named Cookie, and did a lot of other activities.
Ugh, that sounds weird.
Mind you, those were still my preschool years. My parents never allowed me to do whatever I wanted just because
I didn't even go to preschool.
we were rich. My peers at school had as much fun as they wanted and never actually bothered themselves. Their thoughts were occupied with the best flights and parties for weekends and yacht cruises during the holidays. A majority of them lived careless lives since they...
Why would a preschooler be thinking about which yacht about a yacht or when they want to go on a yacht? Like, why would a preschooler even care about that? I'm just wondering. I've never even been on a boat or a yacht or even an airplane, so I don't know what it's like, but like, why would you even want to go on a yacht? You could like drown and die.
Were 11 years old or so. In fact, they often
11. This girl's like 8.
Received grades only because they were present at classes. My parents were different. The older I got, the more they were trying to control my grades and studies. Of course, they rarely bothered to check everything themselves. But the same nanny, a teacher hired for this exact reason, and personal tutors sent them reports every day. So I was forced to cram. Dad had a special gimmick. He used to ambush me in the hallway and run a speed test. Usually, he asked me several questions on literature or history, and sometimes he threw a math problem at me. I had to give him an answer in 10 seconds. If I failed to provide him with a correct answer, it costed me all of my pocket money. With a life like this, I turned into a local nerd and crammer, far from a school celebrity.
I would fail instantly big. We'd be like, he'd ask me another question. It's gonna be more intense because I would fail instantly every question.
I've managed to obtain a romantic relationship only in high school. The guy was not one of my
God,
classmates.
here it comes.
He was an ordinary boy, my peer, who worked as a barista in my favorite cafe. We talked several times, and then we started dating. I liked that he was just a simple, ordinary guy. Besides, he wasn't interested in my money. In fact, Mark immediately told me that he couldn't afford to take me to expensive restaurants and asked me not to take him there on my terms, because letting me pay for us both was humiliating for him.
I already know
Because
this
of
isn't
that,
gonna go
He advised
well.
me to find another guy if I wasn't okay with picnics in the countryside and movies once a week. Well, it suited me just fine. I even fell in love with this peculiar charm of a simple life. Mom once told me that this was not for long, and soon I'd be asking him for something that he'd be unable to give me. She also predicted that one day I would understand that me and Mark were from different worlds, and our love will end. Yet, I didn't want to believe her, and continued dating Mark.
It will end.
By that time, my nanny retrained into a housekeeper,
Oh,
and was
gosh.
put in charge of maids, cooks, and other workers. I intersected with her much less
Oh
than
no,
before,
I know it's coming.
but I still considered her to be my closest friend. In fact, she was more of a family to me than even my parents. And of course, I told her everything and asked her for advice about my relationship. And then I brought Mark home for a first
They finna
meeting
break
with my
up, I already know.
parents. Mom and
The
Dad
na-
only
the
looked at
nanny
him
finna
once or
sleep with the
twice,
boy.
and then completely forgot about him. They just began to chat with each other
I don't know
about
how
their
old
own
this boy
problems right at the dinner
But I'm pretty sure they're in high school, which would maybe be about 16, 17, 15 or something. So that's illegal. So, I mean, this nanny's probably, like, older than 18. So, I mean, this is illegal. So, she might want to rethink her life choices, not this girl, but the nanny.
table and paid no attention to us whatsoever. I knew that it was their normal behavior and kind of rolled with that. Mark, however, he seemed to think that that was their signal to him. Now, he became sure that he was considered unworthy of me. So, I decided to somehow gloss over my boyfriend's first impression of my family and introduced him to my nanny. She piled him with questions. It was a real interrogation. She asked him about his attitude towards me, our prospects, and plans for the future, and somehow Mark still left pleased. And later, I noticed that Mark distanced himself
He's
from
not
me.
gonna be
He
pleased.
pretended to be busy.
He's gonna
Told
dump
me
you.
that he had a lot of work to
Nah, he's
do,
gonna dump
that
you.
he had to meet with friends, and so on and
By
so
friends,
forth.
he means he's
Yet
gonna meet
somehow,
he's gonna hook
he
up with the
managed to
nanny.
find time for all of that earlier and still date me. And now he wasn't able to spend any time with me at all. And the nanny changed as well. You see, I was somehow
Can we just talk about how that girl's hair is blue? Like, why do they do that? Why do they make their hair like that color? Like,
used to the fact that she was always nearby.
she's sleeping with her
I paid
boyfriend,
zero
sweetie.
attention to her appearance or behavior outside of our chats. But now she began to bloom like a rose, and I suddenly noticed that she was only 40 years old, even younger than my mom, and that she was still quite a pretty woman.
Mark is
We
like
had
in
a
high
talk,
school.
and she admitted that she had found a boyfriend.
Hell.
I was very glad for her because she
I
definitely
know what
deserved
this is going
personal
to.
happiness.
Girl,
I even presented
her
her
boyfriend
with
is your
some of my old
boyfriend.
collection dresses so that she could impress her boyfriend
10,
with her
15,
looks.
14,
Our
15.
figures were more or less similar at the moment,
They're gonna
so
break up.
everything went
They're
out
gonna break up.
fine.
They're gonna break up.
My life went on. Everything seemed to be perfect until Mark suddenly broke up with
I
me.
knew it.
That day, I rushed to Nanny in tears looking for comfort and advice, and I didn't find her. I saw both of them instead, lying on the bed in the room. Mark kissed her the way he never kissed me, with so much love and passion. It was a real nightmare. That day, my heart broke twice.
Can't wait for the
First from
This is the nanny's perspective. Nanny's
My
perspective.
name is Barbara, and I'm Pat's former nanny. Here is my vision of what happened to us. Decide for yourself whether I really deserved contact. I raised Pat from birth. I was 23 and just graduated when her parents found me and offered me a lucrative job. And I spent all of my youth on the upbringing of this girl. I loved her, yes, but she wasn't my daughter, and that says it all. The terms of my contract were
You still
quite
slept with her
oppressive.
boyfriend.
I simply did not have the opportunity to date someone or, moreover, to start my own family. And I've been always dreaming about a large family with a loving husband and many kids. Pat became a surrogate child of sorts to me. I tried to replace her mother, read her bedtime stories, held her hand when she was ill, and catered to all of her whims. Sometimes even in contravention with her parents' direct instructions. I thought that the girl deserved some happiness. When Pat grew up, they
If you
still
thought that
didn't
she
fire
deserved
me.
happiness, then why did you sleep with her boyfriend, you idiot?
Her parents offered me a higher salary, better conditions, even made me a housekeeper as a sign of gratitude. But I didn't stay because of that. I stayed because I wanted to be near Pat. I'm sure that my girl loved me too. I was her mom.
Of course. This girl's literally, this woman's literally 40 years old. She's an actual pedophile. Like, she's a pedophile.
Psychologist, and best friend at the same time. Although I certainly wanted her to
She's a
communicate more
pedophile.
with peers and boys, I was still pleased that she did not turn away from me with age. And then she found Mark. I was glad that Pat finally had someone close to her except me. Until I met him personally, that is. He was only 17.
That means she's literally a pedophile. She slept with a 17-year-old. That's pedophilia, which means that she's technically a pedophile. So if this video got out and they actually knew, I mean, you know what, actually? Since she's a woman, if they found out who she was, and if her and Mark were still sleeping together and he's still like 17, she could be charged, but she wouldn't because she's a woman, you know, double standards. But if it was a man, he could be charged immediately. But anyway, if she loved Pat, she shouldn't have slept with her boyfriend. That's just like
Pat.
Nothing justifies sleeping with Pat's boyfriend.
But he seemed to be very smart, and he talked like he'd seen much. Of course, I was not going to woo him. The very idea seemed ridiculous. After all, he was still a young boy, and I looked like an old woman compared to him. Besides, Pat was like a daughter to me, and I could not do such a rotten thing to her.
You literally did! You slept with her boyfriend!
But Mark couldn't be bothered with such trifles as age or different social status. He came to me himself, asked me to meet him at the back door in secret from Pat and her parents, and told me that he loved me. I literally tried to drive him away with a broom. I was afraid that someone had seen him. The gossiping maids, Pat's parents, Patricia herself, after all. But at some point, I really wanted to believe him. And it was my big but very happy mistake. Yes, I'm aware that we've got a pretty large age difference.
Oh my
but
god.
due to his age,
Girl, you're literally a pedophile. I feel like she should be arrested. She's actually a pedophile.
he could have been my son. That in my age, I should have been thinking about the soul and not looking at young boys. But when a woman had long ago gave up her happiness, and then it unexpectedly came to her itself by literally knocking on her door, nothing really mattered anymore. I've been dreaming about it my whole life. I had to choose between Pat.
So it doesn't matter that you're basically a pedophile? Because you slept with a 17-year-old when you're like 40?
Happiness. And I selfishly chose myself. More precisely, it was Mark who chose me. And I just let the thing slide. And I still blame myself for it. But you see, Patricia is young. And she has her whole life waiting.
It doesn't matter. You still slept with her boyfriend. It's your fault. Anyway, guys, that was this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm tired. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully, please thumbs up, like, subscribe.